people.
Yeah, the French people are very ingenious at solving problems. So
I don't know. We create our own problems too, but eventually it will be sorted out someday. So yeah, all right.
Yeah. So my name's Jeff.
Jules, nice to meet you.
Jules?
Jules, yeah. Like
How do you
Jules,
spell that?
Jules, like
Okay.
Jules Verne, for instance.
Does that have an English component? Like
I think it's a girl's name in England.
Oh, really?
But it's like Giulio in Italian, Giulio in Spanish.
Okay.
But I think you guys don't really use it that much.
Yeah, yeah.
I think you have Julia for girls.
Yes, and then I know in Spanish Julio.
Yeah, so that's the same thing.
So my question is kind of a universal question, but it's got two parts. What do you think happens after we die? And also, whatever you believe or doubt about that, how did you get there?
All right. So as I told you before, I was raised Roman Catholic.
Yeah.
And so I don't really. Nowadays, I'm kind of agnostic. I don't really have a very strong opinion on the subject.
Now, you were raised Roman Catholic in France?
Yeah, so I went to the whole shenanigan.
So there was the catechism?
Yeah, I went as I was, I don't know, trained, I don't know how you say that. I did all the steps you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't really know how Protestant work.
You were confirmed, maybe?
Yes, exactly right. So yeah, I received the teachings that they give us there, and nowadays I really don't know. I mean, I really understand people. Like, I think it's. I'm not like one of those guys who is like super strongly opinionated. And I hate like the guys who are like who tell you what.
So sure of them.
Yeah, so sure of them. So I really don't know. I really understand people think that way. It's so difficult to fathom. It's so complex, and I can't really.
Just religion in general?
No, not religion, but the idea of after death is like so.
Oh.
It's so big. It's so crazy. I don't really. I'm at loss of words what to say. So So I don't really know. In a few words, I'm not quite sure.
And do you feel like that? Would you? I guess you'd call yourself an agnostic, or no?
Yeah, I would say that. Yeah.
Yeah. And does that come from? Would you say your cult? Like, I guess what I'm wondering about is like, what's the climate, the religious climate in France like now? And
I mean.
Of course, everyone's different, but...
Of course, I mean, France is historically a Catholic country, like Italy. I mean, we have a few Protestant, maybe 5-6% Protestant.
Yeah.
It's fairly, like, regional. I would say most people are born and raised Catholic, but many people don't actually go to Mass very frequently.
And sometimes it can be seen as like a culture.
Yeah, so I would say
like you're
most
born
people
in a culture, but
I mean a bit like here in Bridgeport, there is like a Catholic background. I find at least for the people I know.
Yeah.
And I mean my father goes to mass every Sunday.
Who?
My father goes to mass every Sunday. So it's not like. But I would say with the younger generations, it's kind of rare, even though it still exists. I know a lot of people go to the Scots. You know the Scotism. You know the guys who go in the woods.
Oh yeah.
It's a youth movement. We travel like we kind of create tribes and go in the woods.
Really?
It's
not paganism, is it?
Oh no! It's absolutely not. It's,
or
Scotism. I don't know.
Scotism. I've not heard of that.
Maybe it's not. Maybe it's not the word. I don't really know the word in.
Is it pretty popular?
Yeah, it's actually it's kind of fun. They have Catholic ones, but they have a Jewish one. It's like, but I don't know. It's probably a different word in English. But yeah,
have you participated in that?
Yeah, it's fun. So basically what you do is it's like you go with the priest and like all the guys, like not all the guys, like 20 guys in their 20s to kind of make sure that you go you live in tents for like a few weeks, and they kind of teach you how to live in the woods and stuff. And Scouts, yeah, maybe you got it now.
I'm thinking of Scots, like the Scottish,
the accent. Yeah.
Scouts. Okay.
Yeah, I knew you knew it.
Yeah, and that can have some kind of religious basis.
Yeah, most
like
of them
belief in God.
Yeah. So I mean, some of them are more like conservative, some are more progressive.
We have a Boy Scouts.
So I guess you say Boy Scouts and not Scouts. Yeah.
So, would you say, Jules, that you believe in God or a higher power at this point in your life?
I do believe in the general teaching of the Bible and as a framework.
Yeah.
I'm not super honestly happy about the Catholic Church itself for many reasons.
Yeah.
But I do believe in, I would say, even though I don't really attend Mass, I would say that I like to believe in the general teaching of the Bible, let's say, in general meaning. A bit like maybe what you guys do at your church, from what you told me. I mean, to some degree. I mean, obviously, in the sense that centered more about the book by itself. And
the thing about so non-denominational Protestantism and I guess, because I don't want to make it sound like, because there are movements, like universalism, which kind of just teaches that any religion goes as long as as long as you're faithful in whatever religion, and so it's more it's not even a rejection, I guess, of traditions, church traditions, and church teachings, and like I was saying, the liturgy of the church. But it's, what is our authority? Is it society? Is it the church authority, or is it the Bible? And so we would say there are good traditions, there are good teachings of that have appeared in the church over the centuries, but we judge them on the Bible. So rather than judging the Bible by the traditions, we judge the traditions by using the standard of the Bible.
Yeah, I understand very well what you guys do, and I would say I'm more sympathetic to this kind of system than the whole extra layer of the church. And I mean, even though, as you said, you can obviously give some benefits to the church. I mean, historically, especially in Europe, I mean, it's another deal here. But I mean, the construction of the Western society and everything, obviously, it had a very large impact. But as a more personal point of view, if I were to go to church, I would rather go probably to the kind of church you go to than the whole Catholic kind of thing. But,
well, we're right in the neighborhood. I'll invite you.
Where are you guys exactly? Because there are some
31st and Normal. So
okay, it's not. I mean,
within
it's
about 3-4 blocks.
Yeah, it's very close. Yeah, we have many Catholic churches here, but I guess it's a pretty Catholic.
So you would. The other part of it is sometimes, I mean, I'm not trying to put them in the same category, but you know how when you see the golden arches, you know what McDonald's is going to be like, right? So yeah, you could go to all the different Catholic churches in the neighborhood, but you pretty much know what they're going to be like, right?
Yeah, it's a friend. Yeah, I mean, my father was visiting me for Christmas 2 years ago, and so I went to Mass with him, and obviously I went to the Catholic church, the Nativity one, because he wanted to. I was like, I don't mind going. And I'm used to it. And as you said,
it's
my
definitely
father,
safe. You know,
exactly
you know what to
expect. My father doesn't really speak any English. He knew what was going on because, as you said, you can go to Ecuador or China. I mean, China is difficult, but you can go to any countries. As you said, you're gonna get your Big Mac.
And so the opposite of that is like you go to local churches like ours. They're going to be much more affected, I think, by local personalities, by local culture and local personalities. And so some are very feeling oriented, and some are very, knowledge as far as like biblically oriented, and different expressions of faith within that.
Yeah. Depends on the pastor.
I actually see it as a strength of what I believe God is doing. I'm actually a high school teacher, and I have experience in special education. So I realize there's different learning styles of different people, and different people relate, visually or in a lot of different ways. And so I see God reaching people in different ways through different expressions of worship too,
Yeah, I get you.
And so where some people would say, well, the church is so divided. One church says it must be done this way, and another church says it's got to be done that way. I would say, well, or maybe God is reaching different people,
What would you say you guys do? I mean, what's your style?
We're I'll just say this: we it's very simple. We usually have a few songs of worship, and kind of make some announcements, and then there's about a 45-minute teaching from the Bible.
Okay, so you select one ID, one chapter, one book, something.
Yeah, and we really like to we do what's called expository preaching, which means we're not going around in the Bible and picking all the verses that will support what we want to say. It's more like, let's look at a central passage and try to understand what it's saying to us. So it's more like letting the Bible speak to us.
It's more interesting than than just pick up the nitpicks that you think.
I mean, sometimes you don't get. I mean, there's the other type of preaching, I guess you'd say, is topical, where you're like dealing with a certain topic, and I do think that has its place. But the majority of our teaching needs to be saying, okay, we believe the Bible is God's word, as far as what God wants communicated to man, but we do need help understanding it in the big picture. How does this passage fit in the big picture of the Bible? Okay. And so we do have a paid pastor who spends a lot of time researching and looking into it throughout the week, preparing for that sermon, and then we really try to help people into like Bible studies throughout the week, to kind of like look at it more on an individual basis. So it's real, I guess you'd say, Bible-centric and also Christ-centric, because we see the Bible as being all about Jesus. Even the Old Testament is looking forward to this coming Messiah.
The Messiah,
And you see all the different ways that God has demonstrated, taken this group of people, the Jewish people, through history, and all the things that didn't work, which lead us to understand why it was so necessary to have God come in the flesh, and so it's all either about Jesus coming or the teachings the things that he did and taught when he was here, or then you've got all the different letters to the churches and how the disciples responded, after that.
Yeah, that's interesting for sure.
So and then we end with some more worship and try to encourage people to have a response to maybe something that they heard in the sermon, and like different people could have different things that kind of stuck out to them. So we encourage them everyone to pray and to say, how does this apply to me personally?
So people like talk, but my understanding is like it's not like one way kind of. Usually Catholic Church is obviously one way kind of conversation between the priest and the crowd. And from what I understand, you guys are more like, obviously there is the sermon and everything, but then people
we want to respond to it.
People kind of obviously. Okay, that's interesting.
And try to get people to read the Bible for themselves. That's always a big challenge.
Of course. Which version do you guys use? The King James Bible?
No, well, New International is one, and we're not real.
I don't have any strong opinion. I was just curious.
I mean, there are some churches, I don't know, maybe just in America, I don't know, but that would say King James only.
Yeah, I mean, that's why I thought some. So obviously, I don't know the English Bibles very well compared to.
Right.
But that's interesting. All right, so you guys are. Well, you told me Archer. No, not Archer. Yeah, you told me. Union,
I'll give you the information.
Union and.
Let me ask you this though. So you're saying you do believe there's a higher power, but
I want to believe. It's tough, man. I don't know how to tell you. It's like I like the idea of believing. Just I can commit myself a little bit intellectually. But I like the idea. I would like to. I just don't really. I would say I don't really have the faith. Like which is a big.
So it's kind of like the heart says, "I want this to be true."
Yes, but my brain is kind of shutting it down. So honestly, I'm very sympathetic to the whole thing. I'm not like one of those guys like, those guys are stupid for believing that. I'm really open to the idea. It's just I can't set myself to like have the faith, and obviously, as you know, it's the.
And when you say believing, just believing there's a God in general.
It's not even like it's just like God in general. It's not like being like this region or that region. It's like it's just I have a. But I do like reading the Bible and everything. Just intellectually, I have a hard time.
And so when you say you generally believe the Bible, would it be that you believe in like the ethics, like the morals,
the ethics
and the
for sure? I mean, especially as a Westerner. I mean, like you guys. I mean, it's like the basis of the Western ethics.
Sure.
So I do like that. I think it's even like on the literature point of view, it's a beautiful book to read.
Yeah.
I like to read it. I mean, it's been a while, but in French at least, it's a nice read. I find.
Yeah.
And it's interesting. It asks beautiful questions, and I like the New Testament. It's like it's always nice to read. But the Old Testament is a bit different.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just like intellectually, I have a hard time kind of committing myself to the whole.
Let me ask you
idea.
this crazy question: are you a good person?
I have my weaknesses, but I would say I'm a decent guy. At least I don't know if I'm good, but I don't think I'm bad.
Okay.
But maybe
Not perfect.
Oh no, that's for
Yeah.
sure. That's for sure. But
So, like, the Bible says there's Jesus talked about a day of judgment, like when we die.
yeah.
Everyone will be judged,
Yes.
and heaven and hell
Yes.
hang in the balance.
Yes.
Do you think? Just I'm not
Yeah.
saying do you believe,
Yeah, no.
but based on what you know that the Bible teaches, would you end up in heaven or in hell?
I mean, that's the. I don't know. I mean,
And along with that, like, what do you think would be the standard? Because like a judgment day implies a judge, that would be God, right? What is the standard God would use on us? What do you think He would be judged according to?
I don't know. I like the. To be honest, when I read Spinoza, I don't know if you pronounce it well. I don't know if you.
Spinoza?
The philosopher, the Dutch philosopher of the 17th century.
Oh, okay.
And
is that like an existentialist?
I mean, not before.
Kierkegaard,
Not before that. He's like but to me, I have as God as is almighty and powerful, I have a hard time believing that if there were indeed a God, then why not? He would be pissed at me having my kind of doubt about it.
Sure.
And because he's in his all greatness and power, it's not me. I mean, it's not like I'm gonna piss him off. In a sense that I think he's beyond the question of did you do this last right or anything, and I believe that if there were indeed a judge, as you say, and then indeed, like I would say, the criteria was, as you said, like a good man, bad man.
Yeah.
The specific distinction I don't know, but
Right.
I do believe that the fact that somebody goes to church at the end of the day, if he acts, it's not like a super strong criteria. I don't know. All I'm saying is like I get what you're saying.
The standard, we have a choice of, is the standard whether we've done good or bad things, or is the standard have we believed in a certain religion?
Yes.
And that's always a good question. And actually, like I talk to a lot of people, wide variety of people. A lot of people are atheists.
Mm-hmm.
They don't believe in God, and they don't. It doesn't make sense to believe in a God who would judge us according to what we believe, because different people have had different backgrounds, and some have never even heard, or they can't believe, like they
that's
don't
a big
know.
question. Yeah, I mean,
And so it sounds unreasonable that God would judge us according to what we believe, right?
That's one point that was made a lot by a lot of people during history.
Now, I do have a couple thoughts about that, and
Yeah.
I'll just run them by you. One is, the Bible actually says, as far as like, does God exist, right? It says that, like we're surrounded by brick buildings, right? When we look at the buildings, we know there was a bricklayer. We see the order, we see the way, we don't see the bricklayer, but we know, it's obvious, right?
Yes.
So the Bible actually teaches that, and this is from like Romans, Paul teaching.
Yeah, he takes this metaphor. Yes.
Yeah, that from the creation, the fact that there is a creation,
There is, hence
means there was a creator.
yes.
And so it's actually saying that to deny that, like I'm not denying that there are people who say I don't believe in God, but you actually have to work to deny it.
Yeah,
it's called suppressing the truth. Like there's this truth, but I'm going to push it down. And I think people get in the habit of doing that so much that they don't even, because like when I talk to people that say they don't believe, I don't doubt them. I don't think they're being insincere or lying to me. I just think that they don't even realize what they've done.
Yeah, you think suppressing, and that's a pretty good argument.
And especially if you only hang around people that do the same thing,
yes.
it's just like how could you believe they believe that I have to go to extra lengths to believe, you know,
Yeah,
like
no,
I have to be dishonest to actually believe, you know, and so we have different views. So that's one. The other one is the idea. The idea that whether we're good or bad depends on our good deeds or our bad deeds, right? So the problem with that is, well, what do you do with people who are raised in a different religion? What's good for them might not be good for us. But what the Bible actually says about that is that everybody, ever since the first people that existed, have a conscience, like a God-given
free will.
Yeah. And so we know right from wrong, and it's actually a God-given conscience where God has put His law in our hearts.
Yes.
And so when we break that law, we're actually just like maybe that first forbidden fruit. It's like we know we shouldn't do it, but we're going our own way. And so you were mentioning, you know, it's like, why would the God of the universe care about the little things that I do, right? I guess you were saying more about what you believe, but at the same time, like, why would God care if I tell a lie or if I take this one little thing, you know? And it's like, if we put ourselves in the place of an Adam and an Eve, you know, making that decision to take that fruit when God said don't do it is like saying, God, I don't care about your rules. I'm going to make my own. I'm going to have my own reason for doing things, and I'm going to disregard that you are in charge, that you're in control, and that I should, you know, submit to you. So the Bible actually says the fear of the Lord, and I think that just respecting His rules is part of that.
Yes.
You know, is the beginning of wisdom, and if we don't have that fear of the Lord, it's the beginning of foolishness.
But it's like
you know,
it's like the natural law even in the U.S. I mean, it's the fear of the cup that makes you follow the rules of the society, even on a different level. So I'm following you.
Yeah. And so what I would say is, on that judgment day, the criteria is indeed God's rules that are in our hearts. So even if we didn't have a training in the Ten Commandments or Christianity, we know generally we have a moral compass. We know.
Yeah, we usually know
right
what we're doing.
Wrong.
We know when we are doing something.
Yeah.
That is
when we try to talk about it, like, there are different situations where that compass might look, you know, like.
Sometimes it's blurry.
But it's definitely a complicated world. I won't, you know.
Of course.
But I do trust that
90% of the time, you know when you are trying to do something that you shouldn't be doing.
And the fact that we always come up with excuses, even if we don't believe in God, lets us know that we know right from wrong, and we don't do it, or we think we can be the exception to the rule, you know.
No, but we could be right. Sometimes the interesting cases are the age cases. Sometimes, as you said, it's so blurry, it's difficult.
That's a good point. Like the age of accountability. Things like that.
It's definitely a difficult time nowadays. We have so many things going on.
So based on maybe your own conscience, you know,
Yeah.
are you a good person? Do you keep your moral conscience?
I would say so. I guess on average, I don't think myself doing many bad things, but many things I do bad. I could do better, and I could do more thoughtfully and.
You and me both. I'm not.
Oh,
trying to put you
I'm
on
sure.
the spot or anything.
Everybody. Everybody. I'm pretty sure. But
a lot of times when I'm talking to people, I'll ask them, well, have you ever lied?
Yeah.
Yes, I
everybody
have.
has.
Have you ever taken something that didn't belong to you? If you think about it enough, you know.
I'm sure I find something when I was a kid.
Have you ever? Now the Bible says you should not commit murder, but have you ever called someone a bad name in anger? Jesus said it's like you're not just using your body to hurt someone, but you're actually like using your words to hurt someone.
Yeah, I mean that's an extension of the thing, but
And then he talked about even our thoughts. Like he said if you committing adultery, sex outside of marriage is wrong, but even if you think about it,
you can sin by thought or action, as we know.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, and that's the thing. I'm sure when you talk to people, everybody says on average I'm a nice guy. I mean, I'm not different, and I'm sure that when you do the listing, you realize that you are probably a worse guy than you thought you were.
It's kind of a way of personalizing the fact that yes, we have gone against our conscience and gone against the 10 Commandments, and we would be guilty, on Judgment Day. If we think that the standard is compare me to other people, we can always think of other people that are worse than us.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Then again, I know a lot of people that are way,
better, yeah.
way better, but no one's perfect.
Of course, but I mean that's it's so relative that everybody thinks it's better than the next to it. But I understand your point. I might need to get going at some point because
okay.
I need to. I'm sorry, I know you.
So yeah, no problem.
But give me your thing.
Here's my information and. Would love for you to
come. So how big would you say your community is? I mean,
there's about 100 people that come on a Sunday morning. So
on average, that's pretty good.
It's very personal. It's not. Some churches can be so big that it's hard.
Oh yeah, especially you guys in the US, you have. I mean, not here, but you have like in the South, like crazy big churches. It's crazy. I mean, it's like the stadium. I've never been to one, but
there are some like mega churches.
Yeah.
This one, instead of getting bigger. We decided to break up into small churches, and so now there's about 24 around Chicago.
Oh wow, it's pretty.
So it is a fairly big church, but with just local
branches. That's better, especially when you want to talk. It's difficult to talk when you have 5,000 people.
I'm going to turn this off, but let me ask you: can I send this? Can I send you a text and let you know when I get this on? Because on that card there's a blog site where you can see where the video is. But it'll take me a couple days to.
I mean, you don't need my thing, but I'll go on your website.
Okay.
Right. But
it's all the information's on there.
It's interesting, especially. I don't really know. I mean, as you have so many Protestant type that sometimes I don't really know what they mean, and I would be interested to check out what you.
Usually, I let our conversation inspire me to write a few things, so it takes me a little while to do that.
Yeah, of course, because especially the accent, I don't know if people will be able to understand.
And if you don't like what you see, my number's on there, and I can take it right
I'm sure you do fine. I trust you with your thing. I just don't know if it's going to be very.
Nobody's complained yet, so.
But that's fine. I check it out, and I hope the best. And,
Thank you.
Sorry, I had to cook actually.
Sure. Okay. That's tomorrow. Easter Sunday is a big Sunday, but you're always welcome to visit. So.
Yeah, of course.
All right. Take care.
Have a nice day, sir.
All right.